know we've talked, I haven't personally, but I know there has been discussions and they basically said no, but now we kind of have a rallying point of the fact, well, you don't want to put up anything, but you just tore down a potential barrier that we already had there. And even if we replace trees in 3 years, they're not going to be those trees. They're going to be 6 foot tall trees.
Right, and that's the thing that when I was speaking with them, that, you know, we need kind for kind replacement, because you're not going to give me a 3-foot tree when you took out a 35-foot tree. So that's really when we have the meeting with the county that I want John to go, because John has a better idea of everything that was there. And no, I want it done, and we're not paying for it. And I would like our landscape, whoever we decide, architect, to support what we're doing and you know, make sure that it's going to be compatible to everything else that we're doing. So I will be talking to the village again to see when they're setting up this meeting, but it should be soon because they need to get that fence up. They will not be doing any landscaping for a time being, but at least the fence is going up and we're working on it. And yes, they're going to have to pay for it because I'm not paying for trees that they took down, even though we were going to. But
and as far as new landscape, I hope they don't, because there's no irrigation. No. So if they put something new on it, it's going to die.
Because they're going to have to.
This type of weather we got going on right now. I'm not even thinking about putting any plants in the ground right now because I just got to overwater everything. You know, it's kind of a waste. You know, planting something in this type of weather right now. I mean, unless it has to be, it's out in front of the community or whatever it may be. But I mean, most stuff you just wait until you start. It's the time of year that Mother Nature help you. You know what I mean? You plant some stuff like the rain.
They're going to have to replace our irrigation.
Sure, but if they were to do it right now, it'd be terrible. You know.
Yeah.
Mr. Perry, since they've already admitted that they did something wrong, I'm sure it wouldn't take more than a letter from your firm to kind of put them on notice.
I think it's a good suggestion, is to work with the chair and Chuck to get the details and draft a letter. If you want me to bring back the next board meeting, or have the chair authorize it, just in confirmation of the following activities: trespass or contractor trespassed, and here's what you agreed to so far, but also leave some wiggle room for further issues that need to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
John, can you get the distance?
Yeah, I can do that, but that's what my next comment was going to be. Well, if that in 2005, that was the easement was given, did they really trespass? If that was signed off to them in 2005, then did they really do anything wrong?
Oh, you mean the sloping easement? That's the question. Does all this activity take place in the sloping easement?
On top of it, yes. So there you got the drainage, you got the slope and the swell, and then on top of that, and then that second half would be the bank of the lake.
The only way to really tell would be a survey.
Right.
Whether they went outside the extent of the slope easement.
Which I figured they would have done in the first place before they started tearing it down. You would have thought, right? They would have surveyed that line of sight, or at least that.
Well, contractors and road work in Lee County, I'm not sure you can assume that. I represent Gateway, and one of the contractors failed to read a set of plans that said there's a 50 kilovolt FPL line going under a road. Hand dig it, find it. No, they went ahead and started doing all the work, and they found the 6-inch FPL line. They said, oh, we already laid the pipe, and now. So I'm not surprised. Just put it that way. But the only way you're going to be able to tell whether or not what they took was in or outside the easement is a survey. And so I may want to put the onus on the county to do that. You know, put the burden on them to say, verify that what you did was within
your
area
property. Okay. Yes, okay, Chuck, and you and Tony and I get together, can you work on a letter with regard to that? And then we can just, you can just send it out to the board members to let them know what we're going to do. And then, because I'd rather not wait another month to get this letter to them. I'd rather do it sooner than later.
A lot longer. That's right.
Yeah. So, and you have the pictures of what the irrigation.
Yes, whatever's missing, I'll get with Chuck.
Okay.
I copied him on everything you sent over.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should.
So he can hit the ground running.
Yeah. So I said to Chuck in one of the emails, are you sure he still wants to do this? Baptism by fire.
So when they tore that irrigation out, how was there not water? Because
It's actually cut off and capped behind 12T because that line is under all those ficus trees, and 4 or 5 years, it broke, we had to chainsaw the roots, and we can't really get to it, so we capped it, so we don't need it, you know? And so that's where it's capped off at. But they're eventually gonna get to that point where it's gonna be live, you know? And like, we know how to shut it down. I mean, we can shut it down and keep capping and fixing it, but
But when we do the new landscaping, we will need the irrigation.
we're gonna need, well, right, where it feeds, because it comes out of the corner where, Jack Mancini parks his truck, you know, in the Duffy's parking lot. It kind of comes out through there, down that backside of that berm on the lake behind 10, you know, behind 10T and all that, on that berm, and then it goes all the way down. So we know where it's at right there, and they'll be outside of that. They've already did that black fence they put in front of Duffy's. They hit that whole fence is on a perfect run of pipe. Just,
They hit that pipe not long ago.
they hit every, I mean, they must have hit it at least 25 times.
Yeah.
So we're not even gonna mess with it, because they're gonna tear it up. So we're just, you know, the signage and all the plants, they're fine. Yeah, and we're off. Like, and I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with the corner of our intersection. We got a lot of miscellaneous stuff, what you call it, you know, poles and old boxes and abandoned power lines and whatnot. And if you see the line that comes up from across the street over on the west side of Corkscrew, on the CVS side, and you see their line, their berm line, it cuts right directly in front of our fountain. And I mean, within 6 to 8 inches.
Yeah, it's
gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen
takes up
out in
half
front.
the field, the flowers. And it's right, I mean, it cuts right into Duffy's sign.
Hopefully it's not too much, and once they regrade it and grass it, we'll go in there and we can just reestablish a bed, hopefully, you know, once they're done, because they won't. But if they ever have to come back, Lord forbid, you know, we'll be tearing it up again. But that's gonna be very interesting, that corner.
Yeah.
Because our sign's blocked anyway when you're coming in
all
off
those
Benton
poles.
Griffith, and
The
you're
road
like turning
actually
left
shifts
or.
there though, too.
Huh?
The road shifts to the north at that intersection.
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully, yeah,
Hopefully that's why.
yeah.
But who knows with the 3 lanes each way.
Right.
So, okay. So that's the tree removal. Okay, the next is the consideration of the budget.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, as most of you know, but for the benefit of our 2 new board members, tonight is really just a kickoff to the budget deliberation season. I'm required by June 15th of each year to get a proposed budget in front of you for your approval, simply for setting your public hearing to final adopt the budget. In this case, we've identified your August meeting for the final adoption budget public hearing. The approval of this budget that's attached to this resolution tonight does not bind you to any of the programs or the funding levels. Those are fully fluid until you get to the point of your public hearing. So we got a few more months to really dive into this. And typically what we do is roll up our sleeves in our June meeting and really start cranking into the numbers. And then by July, we're doing kind of a substantial polish, and we're ready to go into your public hearing in August. And since we don't anticipate increasing your assessments year over year, there's no real time crunch, I should say, going into your final public hearing where I have to have you set assessments so we can do a separate notice. We're not planning on that this year. So with that, it's really as simple as a motion to approve the resolution tonight, and we'll dig into it at the next meeting. Your attorney did review the resolution, and in paragraph 3, after Lee County has suggested that we insert "and the village of Estero." So
Number
we got
3.
2 municipalities here, Lee County and the village of Estero. Both should receive a copy of your proposed budget.
Okay.
So we'll make that change to the final resolution.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the proposed budget. And I know that Jeff and John have discussed some items with them, and they're already working on that process. And again, let Rory and Lucy know that we appreciate their diligence in the last few weeks getting all that stuff done. That really,
The uncoded.
the uncoded. So, okay, the other big nut that
Yes, sir.
Hey, Chuck,
Yes, sir.
I was just looking at this, and I just went under that landscape maintenance personnel services, it went up like 12 grand. I didn't notice. Why would that go up?
That would be a percentage increase for increases in salaries and benefits. Remember, you just did a benefit increase as well, so. But we're going to be refining that, Mike. These were ballparks just to get you somewhere in the neighborhood with your proposed budget. John and Crosby and Jeff will all be diving into their parts of the budget, and we'll be revising those numbers going into your June meeting.
Okay.
The only other thing, and I guess this is just for us, the definitions, they just need to change the council. It still says Dan, so.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we do. So could you please do that? Otherwise, it
We'll
is.
give him his due recognition in the
Please,
budget.
please do, because if it's not there, then we don't pay him. It's not the budget. Okay, the next is the pro shop.
Actually, he was at our last meeting. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The pro shop, the remediation of the air conditioning unit. You've all seen all these estimates, and there's been a couple issues. We had the air quality test done, and we were well within the levels that were necessary. And looking through all of this information from TAQ, their clean air management, when they did their report, said that it was a possible roof leak. The insurance company said it's not, and they won't pay any. Going through what their estimates are and what Jeff and I were looking at, renting pods to put all our stuff in, redoing everything in there, this is going to be a large nut that we did not budget for. We're talking, what did we figure, Jeff, around $70,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Since the air quality is good, can we put this in the budget and do this next year? I mean, are we bound because they want it done to have to do it?
I don't believe so, but I'll defer to your counsel.
By once.
Okay, TAQ, the landlord wants the air conditioning, the whole system redone.
But it's functioning, and the air quality is good according to one report. I haven't seen the lease, but typically, whose responsibility is it under the lease?
It's a triple indemnity.
It's a triple indemnity.
Everything we're responsible for.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's habitable?
Oh, yeah.
Functional?
Yeah,
If it's not broke, you don't have to fix it.
Yeah, and again, if it's not going to interfere with life, safety, health, welfare kind of issues, not a safety matter, air quality is good, the air conditioning system is functioning. There's some remedial action possibly for what, I think, some water intrusion, is that what you're saying?
Well, they did say it's no longer doing it because
The
they have,
condensate pans, the drain pans.
they've all been
They
taken
fix the
care
roof
of.
leak.
They fixed the roof
Well,
leak.
the condensate pans up in the attic.
Yes, and that I know that they've cleaned out, and those are fine. We do have a contract with an air conditioning company that we use that, Kobe checks that, Jeff?
Yes, ma'am.
And they do that if there's anything. And actually, last year, one time, at some point in time last year, all the air conditioning units that were on the far end of the building were moved in front of the pro shop because they felt that, the draining, the pipes going. So they're right out
Part of the
front.
analysis was that it was installed improperly, I guess, if I recall, reading this. And has there been a written demand made as to doing any particular?
Well, it's just been a verbal conversation that they'd like it done. They gave us the estimates to do all of this. Did we want to do it in May or August? We pushed it off till August. And I have said to them more than once, we don't have the money for this. We have paid you every dime through this entire pandemic. Everything's been paid on time. We don't have the money for it. So what I am proposing is that we budget for it for next year and contact them and tell them that we'll do it next year.
Hey, if I'm reading right, can you give me a copy of these?
Okay.
Good, just so I can double check that. But
Okay.
Right now, it sounds like a good course of action, but subject to my looking at the lease.
Okay.
Make sure.
If you can look at that.
I didn't understand the context of all this, so I'm reading it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm reading all these, I'm reading the inspections, the results. and-
Right, and that was it, that they, When Duffy's was closed, Duffy's had a leak. Mold was through the whole place. They gutted it right down to the studs. It was after they were done with all that they looked at the air conditioning on our side. And I said to them, Jeff and I were at a meeting, and said, well, why didn't you do it then when we were closed? You know, we could have worked with you then. But they brought it on us late in the game, and we said, we're not closing in season. And I just kind of feel like, you know, we're being pushed into this, and I said to him more than once, I don't know the money to pay you.
Okay, again, subject to a different opinion, if I read the lease right now, I concur with that approach. I mean,
Okay.
again, if it's not a life, safety, health, welfare, if it's not a breach of the lease,
Just send it to you.
yeah, oh, thank you. I have no choice now.
Okay. So what I will do is I will wait to hear from you or Chuck as to what to tell. Now, in that, should we, and you guys can let me know, do I just email them, or do we send them a letter telling them?
Probably formal.
Formal letter that we will be doing this in 2022. Okay. All right, so I'll wait to hear from you guys before we do anything else, so.
The bigger question would be, is he interested in selling the building? I mean, before we, venture into a budgetary item and doing all this work, does he want to sell the building and then we can do even more extensive than what we were previously thinking about doing?
I have
Do
a
we
sense,
actually have to put a date on it?
no.
Can we just say at this time, we're not doing it? Because if we put a date on it, now we're saying,
We're kind
well,
of
we're
bound
going
to
to
the
do it,
date,
and
right.
who's to say?
Or
we're
they
gonna
will
have the
consider
money?
it in 22.
Yeah,
You're right, I hadn't thought of that part of it.
I would prefer to leave it open-ended.
Open it,
if-
absolutely.
If at all possible,
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jeff, that's fine.
Okay.
but yet word it like we're working on it.
Yeah,
We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the ticket.
Has the relationship been pretty cordial?
We have,
Okay, Tom,
I don't know if you know Andy DeSuble.
oh, yes, is it the,
It's him
the
and
one we had at Gateway years ago?
Q Grady Meyer, who's the Q.
Oh, no, okay, is he still in Colorado?
I think so.
Okay, good. I've known Grady for a long time, and Andy, he was on the Gateway board years ago. It's the same Andy.
Yes.
Andy, or Rich, I think.
Yes, he was there early on.
Sorry.
that's okay, that's fine, as long as you have some history there. Yes, we have worked
You
with,
know the personality, so
Yes.
you know how to word things.
He is a little-
okay. And Christine, his managing agent here, she and I had bumped heads once or twice, but I'll behave.
There's only 6 documents, Chuck.
Only six.
Yeah.
It's because we have amendments.
I know,
You need the whole picture.
I know, thank you.
Okay, so we will wait to hear from that, so we're not going to be worried about that at this point. All right, the next item is the landscaping, and we have interviewed 3 different companies, and the landscape committee has discussed this with the 3 different companies, and what our proposal is, and John has been a part of all of this. Land consultants will draw the plans, give us the designs, present it, but they actually do not have a staff that will do the implementation. Juniper will do all of it, and if we use their plans and do the installation, they will give us a rebate on the initial cost. We have 2 suggestions: either get the plans from both and look at them, or get the plans from Juniper, and with the $11,600, let them do the plans, the drawings, come present it to us, and do all the work from there. I'd like some discussion from the board.
I suggested, even though I'm not a board member, I suggested getting both, and if we like the land consultant, we can ask Juniper to take on that project of what he designs.
Or combine the 2.
Or combine the 2, yeah.
And that would come to about $25,000. And I mean, we're talking, 11 years ago, it was $500,000. We're probably talking $800,000 to $900,000 over a 4-year period to do this. I would like to see the plans. Both companies know that our main priority is the berms and getting the better line of sight, and they were both very aware of the fact that that needed to be done. and the main entrance. I understand that the community is looking at possibly redoing the community center, so that would kind of be the last nut to go through. So with the board, what I need a decision, or we can discuss this further. Do we want to just get the one, or do we want to get both and merge them? I will be honest with you, going through all of this as it is, I do not want to have to deal with the landscape architect and then deal with the installers. I would like a one-stop shop if we could do that, because I don't have the expertise. I don't want John spending more time than necessary, because he will with the irrigation and everything else with that. I just think that it's something that, it's 20 years old, and everybody that has seen it is just like, it needs to be done. I mean, it's old, and the berms, definitely, that's a priority. And now that we're aware of the fact that this truly is a hazard, that we really need to do something about it. So, can I have any comments from the board?
I would say I agree with the one-stop shop idea, because then if you went with the landscaper's plans, but then you used another company to implement those plans, you could just already hear, well, it's not
my plans.
Right, it's not my plans, we can't do it this way, that kind of stuff. So I think you would avoid that conflict. I've said this before regarding the intersections and the berms, that is not new. We've been discussing that for over 10 years. And if we want to go down that rabbit hole, we can, but as a community, prepare yourself, because our intersections will not look anything like they currently do.
Right.
And I don't know if that the landscaping plan would also include the walking paths, because if you tear the berms down, you're going to have to redo the walking paths and water drainage and everything else, so.
And they were both aware of that.
Okay.
So, and we did bring that to their attention, that it was going to level.
Yeah, and as far as the drainage on the walking path, it's all based on the lay of the land. It all goes to the road, or there was no thought in drainage as far as the walking path is concerned. So, and because it's that black asphalt, rerouting that's not going to be much of an issue if we had to do that.
I don't think that will either. I think there's going to be a lot of people not happy when all those.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anytime you do something.
Pretty much any of those intersections, all those trees are going to go.
A lot of
50 feet either way, and 50 feet of line of vision. So what are we going to plant that's not going to grow, that you're going to still maintain that 50 feet line of vision either way? Go to the intersections and look to the right and left, and you'll start seeing that. I mean, on my intersection alone, I figured out there was at least 8 trees on the right and probably 9 on the left would have to go to get what is within spec. And it's just because of the way those the stop signs, everything's set back.
And you're going to have to keep your tree count, so those can't just go away.
No, and both architects,
The village is very stout on the tree.
both architects were aware of that.
I'm certainly not, again, I see it's a hazard. It's a hazard we've been aware of for a long time. But, I don't even know how those intersections ever passed inspection to begin with. So it's a full-fledged design problem from the start. And I just want to caution ourselves and think about it, both as a community and as a board, of what is this really going to take? How much do we really want to spend on it? And I know we throw out the safety idea, and I'm not trying to make light of that, because I agree. I mean, I'm the same way. You stop and you start rolling out, you're looking both ways and all that stuff, but I don't know. I don't know where's the
I guess you can't cut half a tree, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, you can't cut
And it's going to look like between here and Lowe's.
Well, you'd have to cut the bottom of it off. So,
Yeah, keep the top.
Yeah.
So, but we do need to redo the landscaping. They were going to rate the intersections as the worst to the best and work with them. And I think we need to do something for some of them. But yes, they both were very cognizant of the number of trees we had to have. So that was,
I know it's not popular, and I know we started going down that road once, and we kind of ran into a conflict with the village, but I think those things can be worked through. Really, from a safety standpoint, you almost have to make stops.
You'll be able to
Three-way
take
stops.
the trees down without a doubt. They'll allow that, but you're gonna have to replace them.
Replace them.
I'm just
I've
talking
been
about
going
trying to
around
keep,
with them at the Colony and Pelican Landing, and even
Right.
with their influence, they'll know is the answer.
So if I,
well, no, I
if
mean putting stop signs up
Oh,
on the main road, if we truly want safety.
yeah.
Yeah, you put one at every intersection. And I've talked about
Three-way
that before.
stops.
You'd have an extra, I think it's like
Oh, you
4.
mean on the thoroughfare, on the main track, I got you.
Yes.
I know it'd be, but I mean, and again, I mentioned it, I walk my dog, I see people flying down.
Sure.
It's
No doubt.
crazy, you know?
Yeah.
But that would be one way where we could still and I'm not against changing
No.
landscaping and
Right.
I agree, updating, but that is some way we could keep some of those mature trees, the palm trees, and still get safety.
Absolutely. I mean, and I said that from the beginning when I was doing the
Stops.
intersection work with Lou. It's not popular, but if you make them all stop signs, you don't have to spend a lot of money
That's
on
right.
redoing the land. You can leave every tree
Right, right.
and just redo the turf around, or maybe take out some selected ones, just so you can, exactly. So maybe that's a selling point with the, and say, hey, we can, but that's not gonna be popular either way. I mean, either way, like you said, there's not
What
gonna
would
be
we
popular.
have to do to get, I can't even imagine.
Stop signs?
Yeah. I mean, the county,
We looked into it before, Lou was driving that bus.
Lou wanted to get the Eagle Scout or the Hawk, the speeding
On the
device.
traffic hawk,
and actually,
Hawk, yeah.
the village, the HOA, are you guys, you asked for a bid for the Hawk that like Bellaterra had?
12,000, I think it was.
You mean for tickets?
No, just the speeding on the main
We're just
road.
talking about it.
They're
right
just
now.
talking about
It's
it.
stronger talk than we've had in the past. I mean, it's getting ridiculous in there.
Well, I mean, that's not gonna slow anybody down unless you actually ticket them.
just report statistics.
Right, and you can find them if you choose
If you have
to.
a problem,
You can.
But
You can't ticket them.
You can always enter into an off-duty sheriff agreement and have them come in and do traffic enforcement in an
All
off-duty.
the traffic.
We've done that
Right where
Have you introduced?
we haven't.
That-
The HOA has done it.
That helps sometimes, but you're doing such small blocks, 4 hours.
Yeah,
once a-
and they know when you're there, they see
A
you.
couple of speed humps wouldn't work, wouldn't help, hurt either.
Well, they don't want them because of the fire and the
I know they don't want
ambulance.
them.
So, but would it be the county that would do the stop signs?
We went to the village.
We
We
would,
would engage a traffic engineer. Johnson Engineering has that discipline within, so your engineer has that discipline. You can have the traffic engineer take a look at those intersections, and
and then we could just put up stop signs.
he would have to take a look at the development code through the village and apply good traffic engineering standards to that and develop a design plan for it.
Okay.
And
It's a question whether the village may require a modification to require improvements.
We've looked at these
signage and
so many trucks.
It'll take a few hoops, you can certainly get
Trees, man, a lot of them trees.
In the short term, I live on Braxfield, so coming out, looking left, I cannot see it.
Yeah,
But I can see to the right. And the issue is the low foliage.
Yeah.
It's not the trees.
no, it's the low
Bushes.
foliage.
And you can look at that
So if we
line.
can eliminate those bushes, that would help.
Now you're
That would
shading,
start,
basically cutting the berm in half.
Open up,
And you got trees on it.
but, because I can see fine to north, whatever direction.
Yeah, well, coming out of Burridge, I'm really almost out before I can see to the right, but to the left.
Right?
And that's, so a lot of
When
that,
you really sit there and look,
I'll get you. You got a gap at the least.
That's right.
thank you.
You're not gonna do that.
That'd be better on his hands.
I went to school and I went,
Yeah.
I want to pick that one up front. Sorry. Yes, it's the foliage, it's the lower, more so than the trees. And they have said that they wouldn't take out all the trees, but they've got to get rid of that stuff at
And
the
that's not
bottom.
an issue about replacement, right? Just
No,
take that
that part,
out.
you
They rip
take
that
it
all
out.
out.
very well, yeah, put down ground cover.
Take it out.
These are shady areas, so you put down a shade tolerant ground cover.
Yeah.
So,
And another thing to do is take out the trees, some of them, the Washingtonians or the catacombs, you can take out,
Replant.
lower the berm, put them right back in the ground.
Oh, man.
You know, and then even selectively position them to where when you're at that, they're not even close to being a line of sight, no matter what.
and these were some of the things that the architects were saying, that, you know, you can, and actually they were saying that, you know, if you wanted to get rid of some of these trees, some of the big palm trees, they might be able to sell them. Get some, you know.
Well, I know personally, I know it's a wish list to get this done, and I know it needs to be done because it's a dated community. But I think we need to fix the previous problems, like paying off the debt that we have before we start a new
Two
project.
different buckets.
Is it?
Yes, because the bond is the golf course, this is common area, this is part of your tax bill.
This is operations.
This is operations, so they are two, oh, absolutely, I wouldn't be doing this to do
Yeah, this is
that.
coming up.
So it's two different pockets.
But that said, we do have the street project coming up too.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's going to start in 2026 or 2025? Yeah.
So I'd like to get this started and get, and I mean, if it works, and let's get these plans, let's see what the village, you know, if we want to get Johnson Engineering in to tell us about the stop signs.
What did you say Juniper would do? If we go with them, I know they'll do everything, but if we go with them, will they credit back the design?
Yes. They're going to credit a portion of the design back,
Yeah,
yes.
Juniper.
Yeah.
You said 25, was that to get both bids, or just to get?
Both. Juniper was 11.6, land
The other one's like,
So we were
So-
considering getting both bids and just paying both bids.
paying both bids, or just doing the one and having a one-stop shopping.
Did Juniper tell you how much they credit back?
I think it was,
Not me.
I don't remember what it was.
I would negotiate with them and say, if we go with you, you credit back the design, you get the work.
Of course, we haven't seen the quote yet on the
I
work.
know, but
They're going to throw it into the quote.
Somewhere.
they'll get their
We're
money
going to pay for
somewhere.
it.
we're not
Grand here, grand there.
Yeah.
But we're gonna pay on top of it too.
Yeah.
It's like buying a car.
Trust me, they're gonna charge what they're gonna charge.
Yeah.
I would negotiate with them and say, we'll go with you, but the design is free.
If we do the whole thing, we
Right.
usually take that off at the end.
Yes. That's what we did with, or that's what we negotiated with, what we did the last plan. I was on that.
Wall draw.
Yeah.
So, okay, so for the board, what is your pleasure? Do we do Juniper and get it all done for the 11.6?
Well, before we, the problem is, if we just go with Juniper, we don't get bids, right? We're not getting 3 bids to keep them honest to know what the work is actually should cost, right?
Well, it's actually not necessarily just keeping them honest. We're over the dollar threshold. Not on this, but on a potential.
That I don't know. Were they going to give you a cost opinion as well? Because then you'll know. If it's over, this is construction, and the last calculation we did for Pelican Sound just a few months ago is 340 was the adjusted construction number.
That's a big
bidding threshold, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, they, a few years ago, I want to say it was like 7 or 8 years ago, the legislature changed the bidding requirements on construction. They set it at that amount there, and they did some engineering escalator. So it's an escalator that's published in an engineering periodical, and we had it calculated for Pelican Sound not too long ago, so the adjusted threshold is 340 in that neighborhood for construction project. So this would be a construction project, capital project.
Okay, so I would have to, so,
That, if their cost opinion comes in below that, it should not be an issue. If it comes in above that, then we're going to have to do sealed competitive
They
bids.
sealed competitive bids.
Okay.
So we can't guarantee.
So just let them know that there's no guarantee we're going to use them
Oh,
for
right.
that side of it. That's
We
what-
want to, and we want to go with them.
Yeah.
right, and they do know that, you know, once we do this and get the plans, they're ours. You know, yes, they want to do the whole thing, but, okay.
Yeah, well,
Our intention is to use them. We just want to make sure that they're competitive.
what we're going to want to do, and this is, we're going to want to use the scope part of their proposal as an exhibit to an agreement that Mr. Pierce has prepared for you, a template agreement that has all the necessary belts and suspenders
Okay,
They always have everybody.
Yeah.
Situation is,
Sometimes
we hit a certain dollar threshold, we have to put it out publicly. We might get bids from 10 different times, we might only get one. We have to publish it. If it's over this 340, I think it used to be like $250,000.
It was 250.
Yeah, it was
They
250.
should know that, right? They know what that person
yeah.
Maybe or maybe they don't, I don't know, but we can't tell. Yeah, because we have
Can we have one conversation? Okay,
still have to do it, we have to place, and we have to put it out for public bid, basically.
right.
Chuck, I have a quick question. Chuck, if the total job is 500,000, but we do it in phases over 2 years, and we know we are, does that constitute as the, can you say it's 250, 250? I don't know, I'm just,
The concern is, the courts and the legislature always say you try to not utilize devices to try to avoid the public bidding process, competitive solicitation is preferred.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't like to go down that path, and someone will say, aha.
okay.
If there's a legitimate basis for splitting, it might be a different story.
But there is, obviously, because we're not bringing in the generated revenue off the tax bill per year to afford the whole
Right, I
entire
mean, we have
amount.
the 200, we'll have another 200 after.
Well, usually the monetary matters are the legitimate basis, it's whether or not you can phase and scope your project. Say,
Not having money is not a legitimate,
It's being part of it isn't good.
Especially when you look at your financials and you would have enough to cover 500,000.
yeah.
Okay.
That damn transparency.
Now we spoke about it in public. It's a little bit hard to deny it.
Okay, so again,
Hey, Chuck, can you scratch that from the minutes?
Can't scratch it from the audio.
no,
Well, this AutoCAD, is that digital, so you can put it on a digital platform?
Don't worry about it, because I can't hardly hear
You
you.
know what I mean by that? So if you got an AutoCAD of like what the redesign is gonna look like, you put it on your website and like residents can see it.
They would actually scan that into a PDF, so we could actually put it on the website.
yeah.
That would probably